The huge space station floated in the dark between stars. Inside, creatures from across the galaxy sat in a giant room. Some had scales, others had too many arms, and a few looked like floating clouds of gas. They all belonged to the Galactic Council, a group that decided which planets could join their club of advanced worlds. Ambassador Zethkar stood at the center of the room. His green scales caught the light as he moved. His yellow eyes showed disgust as he looked at the small screen floating in front of him. The screen showed a blue and green planet called Earth. "Look at this pathetic world," Zethkar said. His voice was cold and full of hate. "They call themselves humans. They want to join our council, but they are not even united as one people." The other aliens in the room made sounds of agreement. Some clicked their claws, others buzzed with their wings. They had never seen a planet with so many different nations before. "Our scouts have watched them for many years," Zethkar continued. "They fight each other constantly. They have hundreds of small countries, all with their own armies. How can such a broken species deserve to sit with us?" At the back of the room, a human woman sat alone at a small table. Her name was Lisa Chong, and she was Earth's only representative at this meeting. She wore a simple blue suit and kept her face calm, even though she could hear every insult. The leader of the council was a tall crystal being called Zathul. It had ruled the council for thousands of years and had seen many species try to join. Most failed the tests. "The humans want to be part of our peaceful alliance," Zathul said in a voice like breaking glass. "But they are too primitive and too divided. They cannot even control their own world." Zethkar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. His people, the Veltani, wanted to expand their empire. Earth was in the perfect spot for their trade routes. If the humans were rejected by the council, the Veltani could take their planet without any problems. "Watch this," Zethkar said. The screen changed to show human soldiers training. "They call these their special forces. Each country has different ones. They cannot work together because they speak different languages and use different methods." The alien delegates laughed. The bug-like crickets made clicking sounds. The gas creatures pulsed with bright colors. They thought humans were foolish for having separate armies. "Look how they waste their time." Zethkar pointed at the screen. "The Americans do one thing, the British do another, the Russians do something else. They are like children playing war games." Lisa Chong had heard enough. She stood up slowly, her chair making a small sound in the quiet room. Every alien eye turned to look at her. "Counselor Zethkar," she said in a clear voice, "you are wrong. About my people, your spies have only seen what we wanted them to see. You have watched our training and our peacekeeping missions. You have never seen what we can really do." The room became very quiet. Most aliens had never heard a human speak before. They expected her to sound scared or weak. "We are not divided," Lisa continued. "We are diverse. There is a big difference. Our nations work together when we need to. Our different approaches make us stronger, not weaker." Zethkar's eyes grew wide with anger. "Impossible. No species can be strong while divided. Unity is the only way to achieve greatness. That is why the council exists." "Then test us," Lisa said simply. "Give us your standard military evaluation. Let us show you what humans can do." The other aliens began to talk among themselves. They had never seen a species so confident while being so obviously weak. Every other planet that joined the council had united under one government first. Zathul raised one crystal hand for silence. "Very well, human. We will conduct a formal evaluation. Your species will face our standard test against Veltani shock troops. These are some of the finest warriors in the galaxy." Zethkar's smile grew wider. His shock troops had never lost. A council evaluation. They had broken the spirits of dozens of species who thought they were ready to join the galactic community. The test will take place on Evaluation Zone Alpha, Sathul continued. It is a world designed to challenge even the strongest species. If your people can survive and complete the mission, we will consider your application again. Lisa nodded. We accept your test. But I have one request. Since you think our diversity is a weakness, I want each of our major nations to send their own representatives. Let them show you what they can do. The aliens looked at each other in surprise. This seemed like an even worse idea. How could scattered teams from different countries work together? Agreed, Zathul said. Your divided forces will face unified Veltani troops. It will be an interesting demonstration of why unity matters. Lisa Chang smiled for the first time since entering the council chamber. Yes, it will be very interesting. As the meeting ended, the aliens felt confident. They would watch the humans fail badly, then the Veltani could take Earth without the council interfering. It seemed like a perfect plan. None of them understood what they had just agreed to face. Earth's nations had been fighting wars for thousands of years. Each had learned hard lessons about survival and combat. Each had developed their own ways of dealing with impossible situations. The Galactic Council was about to discover that humanity's greatest strength came not from being the same, but from being different. They would learn that every nation on Earth had their own Hellworld soldiers, and each one was ready to show the galaxy what humans could really do. The test was set. The trap was prepared. But the aliens had no idea who was really walking into it. The message came through secret military channels around the world. Every major nation received the same coded transmission about Operation Hellworld. They needed to send their best soldiers to face an alien test that would decide Earth's future. In a military base in North Carolina, Colonel Jake Morrison read the file 3 times. The aliens wanted to test humanity's combat ability on a hostile planet. They would face advanced alien warriors in an environment designed to kill. Morrison knew exactly who to send. He walked down a long hallway lined with photos of fallen soldiers. At the end was a small office where Sergeant Alex Rivers was cleaning his rifle. Rivers was 32 years old and had fought in more wars than most soldiers twice his age. Pack your gear, Alex, Morrison said. You're going to space. Rivers looked up from his weapon. His face showed no surprise. After 15 years of special operations, nothing shocked him anymore. What's the mission, sir? Survive on an alien world while their best troops hunt you down. Then show them why they should respect Earth. Rivers nodded and began packing his kit. He had survived the mountains of Afghanistan, the deserts of Iraq, and the jungles of South America. One more hostile environment was just another day at work. Across the ocean in England, Captain Helen Price was making her own selection. The SAS base at Hereford was quiet in the early morning. She found Corporal Danny Walsh in the training room, practicing knife fighting with a training dummy. Danny, how do you feel about alien contact? She asked. Walsh stopped his practice and turned around. He was a small man with quick eyes and hands that never stopped moving. Are they friendly, Mom? Not particularly. They want to test our military abilities. The Americans are sending someone, and so is everyone else. Sounds like fun, Walsh said with a grin. When do we leave? In Russia, the selection process was different. Colonel Viktor Petrov did not ask for volunteers. He simply told Senior Lieutenant Nina Volkov that she was going. She was the best sniper in the Russian military and had killed more enemies than any other woman in their forces. The aliens think we are weak because we have many nations, Petrov explained. You will show them that Russian soldiers fear nothing. Volkov checked her rifle scope and nodded. How many aliens am I allowed to kill? As many as necessary. Similar. Conversations were happening around the world. In Canada, Master Corporal Ryan Bell was selected for his ability to survive in any wilderness. He had grown up hunting in the northern forests and could live off the land for months. Australia chose Sergeant Kate Murphy, a veteran of desert operations who could fight in heat that would kill most people. She had trained Aboriginal warriors in traditional survival methods and learned their ancient skills. France sent Sergeant Paul Dubois from their elite GIGN unit. He had stopped more terrorist attacks than any other officer in Europe. His ability to think quickly under pressure made him perfect for unknown threats. Germany selected Hauptkommissar Lisa Weber from GSG 9. She had led counterterrorism operations across Europe and was known for her tactical genius. Other commanders often asked for her advice on difficult missions. Japan contributed Sergeant First Class Hiroshi Tanaka from their Special Forces group. He moved like a ghost and struck with the precision of a swordmaster. His training in martial arts and modern weapons made him deadly in any situation. Israel chose Captain Rachel Cohen from Sari Matkaw. She had conducted intelligence operations in hostile territory for years. Her ability to gather information and adapt to changing situations was legendary. India sent Major Amit Sharma from the Para Special Forces. He had fought in the high mountains along the border with Pakistan. The thin air and brutal conditions had made him stronger than most men could ever become. China selected Senior Colonel Li Wei from their Special Operations Forces. He was not just a fighter, but a strategic thinker who could see the bigger picture. In any battle, each nation had their own way of choosing. Norway sent someone who could survive in Arctic conditions. Brazil chose a jungle warfare expert. South Africa contributed a specialist in desert combat. Every selection reflected the unique challenges each country faced. The chosen soldiers began arriving at a secret base in the Nevada desert. They came from different cultures, spoke different languages, and had trained in different methods. Some had fought each other's countries in previous wars. Alex Rivers met Danny Walsh at the base cafeteria. They sat across from each other. Two professionals sizing each other up. Rivers was bigger and spoke with a slow American accent. Walsh was smaller and had the quick speech of someone from Manchester. "Heard you SAS boys are tough," Rivers said. "Heard you Rangers never give up," Walsh replied. They shook hands, and both knew they would get along fine. Nia Volkov sat alone, cleaning her rifle. She did not talk to the others much, but they all watched her work. Her movements were precise and efficient. Every piece of equipment was perfectly maintained. Lisa Weber organized the others into discussion groups. Her German efficiency helped everyone understand the mission better. She created charts showing each person's specialties and how they might work together. Paul Dubois shared information about alien technology that French intelligence had gathered. His counterterrorism experience made him expert at analyzing enemy capabilities. The diversity that the aliens expected to be a weakness was already becoming a strength. Each soldier brought different skills, different perspectives, and different solutions to the same problems. As they prepared for the mission, they learned about each other's methods. The Americans favored direct action and overwhelming force. The British preferred stealth and precision. The Russians used brutal efficiency and never gave up. The Canadians were masters of wilderness survival. The Australians could fight in conditions that would kill others. The French were experts at unconventional warfare. The Germans brought systematic analysis to every problem. Each nation's approach was different, but they all shared one thing. They were survivors. They had been selected because they could adapt to any situation and overcome any obstacle. The aliens thought humanity's diversity was a weakness. They believed that only unified forces could be truly effective. They were about to learn that different approaches to the same problem could create solutions that no single method could achieve. The test was coming. The Hellworld was waiting. And Earth's finest soldiers were ready to show the galaxy what human diversity could accomplish. The planet called Evaluation Zone Alpha was a nightmare. The aliens had chosen it to break the spirit of any species that dared to challenge them. It was a world where their own soldiers barely survived, and weaker species usually died within. Ours, the surface was covered with active volcanoes that spewed poisonous gas into the air. Storms of acid rain swept across the landscape every few hours. The temperature changed from freezing cold to burning hot without warning. Strange creatures lived in the shadows, all of them hungry and aggressive. The gravity was 30% stronger than Earth's, making every movement harder. The air was thin and full of toxic particles that burned the lungs. Sharp rocks covered the ground, and deep cracks opened suddenly without warning. This was where the human soldiers would face their test. Alex Rivers felt the dropship shake as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the small window, he could see the hellish landscape below. Red lava flows cut through black rock like glowing scars. Purple clouds swirled overhead, crackling with dangerous lightning. 30 seconds to drop, the alien pilot announced. Rivers checked his gear one final time. His rifle was loaded, his knife was sharp, and his survival kit was complete. He had trained for every kind of hostile environment, but this would be his greatest test. The dropship's door opened, and Rivers jumped into the toxic air. His parachute opened automatically, and he began his descent toward the nightmare world. Below, across the planet, other human soldiers were making similar drops. Each team landed in a different location, separated by hundreds of miles of hostile terrain. The aliens wanted to prevent them from working together. Danny Walsh hit the ground in a region where acid geysers shot up from the earth. The British soldier rolled to absorb the impact and immediately began moving. His SAS training had taught him that staying still meant death. He found shelter in a cave and quickly assessed his situation. The air was barely breathable, the ground was unstable, and something was hunting him. Through his scope, he could see movement in the distance. The Veltani were already closing in. Walsh smiled grimly. This was exactly the kind of impossible situation he had trained for his entire career. Nina Volkov landed in a field of crystal formations that reflected the planet's harsh light. The Russian sniper found a high position among the crystals and began to study the terrain. Her training had taught her to turn every environment into an advantage. She spotted a group of Veltani soldiers moving through the valley below. They were spread out in a standard search pattern, confident that their prey would be easy to find. Volkov adjusted her rifle scope and began to hunt Ryan Bell. The Canadian soldier found himself in a region that looked like a frozen desert. The temperature was 40 degrees below zero, and the wind carried particles of ice that cut like knives. Most humans would have died within minutes. Bell had grown up in the Canadian wilderness. Cold was his friend, not his enemy. He began to move through the landscape like a ghost, using the harsh conditions to hide his presence from the alien hunters. Kate Murphy landed in what looked like a volcanic desert. The Australian soldier was used to extreme heat, but this place was beyond anything she had experienced. The ground was so hot it melted the soles of her boots. She found shelter in a lava tube and began to plan. The Veltani would expect her to seek cool places to hide. Instead, she would use the heat as a weapon against them. Paul Dubois touched down in a region filled with toxic swamps. The French soldier's counter-terrorism training had taught him to use urban environments to his advantage. This alien swamp was just another kind of battlefield. He began to set traps using the swamp's natural dangers. The Veltani hunters would find that their prey was more dangerous than they expected. Lisa Weber landed in a maze of deep canyons. The German soldier immediately began to analyze the terrain, looking for tactical advantages. Her systematic approach to problem-solving would turn the canyon system into a fortress. Each human soldier faced unique challenges, but they all shared one advantage. They had been fighting on hostile worlds their entire careers. Earth itself was a planet of extreme environments, and each of them had learned to survive in the worst conditions their home regions could offer. The Veltani had made a critical error. They assumed that all species developed on peaceful worlds like their own. They did not understand that Earth was already a Hellworld, and humans were already Hellworld soldiers. Alex Rivers found himself being hunted by a squad of Veltani shock troops. These aliens were 7 feet tall, covered in armor, and armed with energy weapons. They had never lost a council evaluation. Rivers used the volcanic activity to mask his heat signature. He moved through lava tubes and emerged behind the alien. Patrol. His rifle spoke 3 times, and 3 Veltani fell before they knew they were under attack. The survivors turned to face him, but Rivers was already moving. He had learned in Afghanistan that mobility was life. Standing still meant death. Danny Walsh turned the acid geysers into weapons. He herded a group of Veltani hunters into a field of unstable vents. When the aliens stepped on the wrong spots, superheated acid erupted from the ground. Walsh picked off the survivors with precise shots from his rifle. Each bullet found its mark, and each enemy fell without firing a shot in return. Nina Volkov began her own kind of war. From her position in the crystal formations, she could see for miles in every direction. Her rifle had been modified to work in the alien atmosphere, and her bullets flew true. The Veltani hunters began to fall one by one. They could not see where the shots came from, could not understand how their prey had become their predator. Volkov was patient, methodical, and absolutely deadly. What the aliens watching from orbit could not understand was how these separated human teams were somehow working together. The Americans' aggressive tactics created opportunities that the British exploited. The Russian sniper provided cover for movements she could not possibly have coordinated. The truth was simple. Human soldiers had been fighting alongside allies for thousands of years. They understood how to support each other even when they could not communicate directly. Each team's actions complemented the others naturally. By the end of the first day, the Veltani hunters were no longer hunting. They were running, trying to escape from prey that had become predators. The humans had adapted to the Hellworld faster than any species in galactic history. The aliens in orbit watched their instruments in disbelief. The nightmare planet that was supposed to break the human spirit had instead become their hunting ground. Every advantage the Veltani possessed was being turned against them. The test was supposed to last 3 days. The humans were just getting started. Commander Velthak stood in the command center of his orbital ship, staring at the tactical display with growing alarm. The screen showed the positions of his shock troops on the planet below, and too many of those positions were marked with red symbols indicating casualties. "Report," he demanded from his tactical officer. Sub-Commander Kralvex looked up from his console, his scaled face showing confusion. "Sir, we have lost 37% of our ground forces. The humans are not behaving as expected." Velthex. Yellow eyes narrowed. His shock troops had conducted hundreds of evaluations against species seeking to join the Galactic Council. They had never lost more than 5% of their forces in a single mission. "Explain," he ordered. Kralvex activated a holographic display showing the planet's surface. The human designated as Alex Rivers destroyed 3 of our supply caches in the volcanic region. His team used the lava tubes for concealment and struck when our forces were not expecting an attack. The display shifted to show another region. The British soldier, Danny Walsh, has eliminated an entire patrol squad using the planet's acid geysers as weapons. Our troops walked into what appeared to be a simple ambush, but he had turned the entire area into a death trap. Velthik watched the recordings with growing respect and fear. These humans were not just surviving the Hellworld, they were thriving in it. They moved through the hostile environment like they had been born there. "What about the Russian sniper?" he asked. "Nina Volkov has eliminated 17 of our scouts from positions we cannot locate. Our troops are afraid to move in the open. She seems to be everywhere at once." The tactical display showed the crystal formations where Volkov had made her nest. From her high position, she could see across multiple valleys and ridges. Her rifle had unlimited range in the thin atmosphere, and she never missed. "Sir," Kralvex continued, "the humans are somehow coordinating their attacks despite being separated by hundreds of miles. When the American team creates a distraction, the British team strikes at our communications. When the Russian sniper eliminates our sentries, the German team moves through the gaps in our perimeter." Vuelek had commanded military operations for over 200 years. He had fought species that were stronger, faster, and more technologically advanced than his own. But he had never faced an enemy that could adapt so quickly to unknown conditions. "They are using our own tactics against us," he admitted. "But how? They should be confused and disorganized. They come from different nations with different languages and training methods." On the planet's surface, the human soldiers were proving that diversity was strength, not weakness. Each team brought unique solutions to the same challenges, and their different approaches complemented each other perfectly. Lisa Weber had turned the canyon system into a fortress. Her German engineering background helped her understand how to use the natural rock formations for defense. She had created a network of hidden positions that allowed her team to control a large area with minimal forces. When Veltani troops entered the canyons, they found themselves trapped in a maze where every turn might hide an enemy. Weber's systematic approach to warfare had turned the terrain into a weapon. Paul Dubois was conducting his own kind of war in the toxic swamps. His counter-terrorism experience had taught him that the enemy's equipment could be turned against them. He captured Veltani communication devices and began feeding false information through their networks. Veltani patrols received orders to move to positions where other human teams were waiting. Supply convoys were redirected into ambushes. The aliens' own communication system became a tool for their destruction. Hiroshi Tanaka demonstrated why Japanese martial arts emphasized precision and timing. His team infiltrated a fortified Veltani base using techniques that seemed impossible. They moved like shadows, struck like lightning, and vanished before the aliens could respond. The base's commander did not even know his position had been compromised until he discovered that all his guards were unconscious and his equipment had been sabotaged. Rachel Cohen applied her intelligence training to analyze Veltani behavior patterns. She studied their movements, their tactics, and their equipment. Then she shared this information with other teams through improvised communication methods. The humans began to predict where the aliens would go and what they would do. They were always one step ahead, always prepared for the next move. Major Amit Sharma used his mountain warfare experience to dominate the high ground. His team moved through the planet's peaks and ridges like mountain goats, striking at Veltani positions from angles that should have been impossible. The aliens looked up to see human soldiers appearing on cliff faces that no rational being would try to climb. By the time they responded, the humans were gone, leaving only destruction behind. Senior Colonel Li Wei coordinated the strategic picture. His military training had taught him to see the bigger pattern in complex battles. He understood how each team's actions affected the overall mission. Without any direct communication, Li Wei began to position his forces to support the other team's operations. When the Americans needed a distraction, Chinese forces would create one. When the British needed an escape route, Chinese troops would clear the path. By the second day, the Veltani were no longer hunting humans. They were trying to survive against an enemy that seemed to anticipate their every move. The planet that was supposed to be their advantage had become their prison. Ryan Bell and Kate Murphy had mastered their respective environments so completely that they could move through areas that would kill most life forms. Bell used the frozen regions like a personal highway, while Murphy made the volcanic deserts her hunting ground. The Veltani had equipment designed to protect them from the planet's harsh conditions, but they had never faced an enemy that could use those same conditions as weapons. "Sir," Kralvex reported, "our ground forces are requesting immediate extraction. They say the humans are no longer acting like prey animals. They are hunting us." Velthike looked at the tactical display one more time. The red symbols marking his casualties were spreading across the planet like a disease. His elite shock troops, the finest warriors in the Veltani military, were being systematically eliminated by an enemy they had expected to defeat in hours. "How many humans have we eliminated?" he asked. "None, sir. We have not confirmed a single human casualty." Velthek felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's temperature. In his long military career, he had never seen a battle where one side suffered heavy casualties, while the other remained untouched. They are not fighting like any species we have encountered, he realized. They are fighting like the planet itself is on their side. The truth was even more disturbing. The humans were not just adapted to hostile environments. They had been shaped by them. Earth itself was a world of extreme conditions, and every human soldier had learned to survive in environments that would challenge most galactic species. The Hellworld that was supposed to break them had instead become their natural habitat. They were not visitors struggling to survive. They were apex predators in their element. The hunt was far from over, but the roles had been completely reversed. The Veltani were now the prey, and Earth's Hellworld soldiers were closing in for the kill. The extraction point was a flat area of black rock surrounded by steaming vents. According to the mission parameters, this was where the human team should arrive after 3 days of being hunted by Veltani shock troops, the aliens expected. To find desperate survivors begging for rescue. Instead, they found something that would change galactic history forever. Alex Rivers arrived first, carrying equipment that had not been in his original kit. His rifle now had alien modifications, and his gear bag contained Veltani technology that he had captured during the mission. He moved with the confidence of a predator, not prey. Danny Walsh emerged from a different direction, his small frame loaded with improvised weapons and communication devices. He had not just survived the Hellworld, he had made it his home. One by one, the other human soldiers converged on the extraction point. Each carried trophies of their victory over the planet's hostile environment and their alien hunters. Nina Volkov's rifle had new alien attachments. Lisa Weber wore a Veltani officer's armor. Paul Dubois had a collection of enemy weapons, but the biggest surprise came last. The human teams did not arrive alone. Commander Velthek stumbled into the extraction zone, his hands bound behind his back with his own equipment. The feared Veltani military leader had been captured by a joint operation between Rivers and Walsh, who had worked together despite never communicating directly. The orbital observation team watched in stunned silence as their commanding officer was led to the center of the extraction point like a prisoner of war. The humans had not just survived the evaluation, they had completely reversed it. "This is impossible," whispered Sub-Commander Kralvex from the observation ship. "No species in galactic history has ever captured a Veltani commander during a council evaluation." The transport ships arrived to collect the human teams, and the soldiers boarded with the casual confidence of professionals finishing another day's work. They treated the Hellworld mission like a routine training exercise that had gone exactly as planned. When the humans returned to Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council Chamber was packed with representatives from every member species. Word had spread quickly about the unprecedented results of the evaluation. Some aliens had come to witness history, others to understand how such a thing was possible. Prime Zathil stood at the center of the chamber, his crystalline form pulsing with colors. That observers recognized as deep respect mixed with concern. In 3,000 years of council evaluations, nothing like this had ever happened. Honorable delegates, Zathul began. We have witnessed something that challenges our understanding of military capability and species development. The chamber fell silent as the human soldiers entered. They wore their improvised gear and carried their captured weapons. Their faces showed no arrogance or aggression, only the quiet confidence of people who had done their job well. Ambassador Lisa Chung stood to address the council. The small human woman who had been dismissed and insulted just days earlier now commanded the attention of the entire galactic community. Honorable delegates, she said, you made an error in your assessment of humanity. You saw our diversity as weakness, our separate nations as division. You failed to understand that our strength comes not from uniformity, but from our ability to adapt and combine different approaches. Alex Rivers stepped forward, still wearing his gear from the Hellworld. Each of our teams brought something unique to that planet. The Americans brought aggression and adaptability. The British brought precision and stealth. The Russians brought efficiency and determination. Danny Walsh continued the explanation. We do not need to be identical to work together. We need to be different. Our diversity gives us options that no single approach can match. The Council. Delegates shifted uncomfortably. Every species in the galactic community had achieved spaceflight through planetary unification. The idea that diversity could be stronger than unity challenged everything they believed about civilization. Nina Volkov spoke for the first time since returning from the Hellworld. Your shock troops were trained to fight enemies who think like you do. They could not adapt to fighting enemies who think differently from each other. Lisa Weber added, each of our teams solved the same problems in different ways. When one approach failed, we had others. When direct attack did not work, we used stealth. When stealth failed, we used overwhelming force. The aliens could not predict our actions because we ourselves did not know what each team would do. The mathematical beauty of human diversity was becoming clear to the assembled aliens. Where they saw chaos and inefficiency, the humans had demonstrated a flexible system that could adapt to any challenge. Paul Dubois explained the strategic implications. Your military doctrine assumes that all enemies will respond to the same tactics. But humans respond differently based on our cultures, our histories, and our individual experiences. Fighting us is like fighting 12 different species at once. Zithkar, who had started this confrontation with such confidence, now sat silent in his delegation area. His empire's expansion plans had just encountered an insurmountable obstacle. The trade routes he wanted to control were defended by warriors who had just humiliated his finest troops. Hiroshi Tanaka spoke with the precision that had made his infiltration mission so successful. We learned your tactics in 3 days. We adapted to your technology in 3 days. We turned your advantages against you in 3 days. This is what human diversity can accomplish. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates were excited by the possibilities. Others were terrified by the implications. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted. Rachel Cohen delivered the intelligence assessment that put everything in perspective. Your evaluation was designed to test our military capabilities, but you only tested a tiny fraction of what Earth can offer. We have thousands of different military traditions, each adapted to different environments and challenges. Prime Zathul called for order as the discussions grew heated. The Galactic Council formally recognizes Earth's application for membership, he announced. Your species has demonstrated capabilities that exceed our evaluation parameters. But Nina Volkov was not finished. She stepped forward and delivered the statement that would echo through galactic history. With respect, Prime Zathul, we appreciate the recognition. But the teams you observed represent only a fraction of Earth's capabilities. Every nation on our planet has their own Hellworld soldiers. What you saw was just the beginning. The chamber fell completely silent as the implications sank in. The humans had sent 12 soldiers from 12 nations. Earth had nearly 200 nations, each with their own military traditions and elite forces. Senior Colonel Lei Wei provided the final strategic analysis. You tested our ability to fight on one hostile world, but Earth itself is a world of extreme environments. We have soldiers trained for Arctic conditions, desert warfare, jungle combat, mountain operations, urban warfare, and dozens of other specializations. The Galactic Council suddenly realized that they had not just accepted a new member. They had encountered a military superpower that had been hidden in plain sight. Earth's diversity, once seen as primitive division, was now recognized as an unprecedented strategic advantage. As the human delegation prepared to leave Nexus Prime, the aliens began to understand that the galaxy had changed forever. The age of human influence was beginning, built on the foundation of diversity and adaptability that made Earth's Hellworld soldiers unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The species that had seemed too primitive and divided to join the galactic community had just demonstrated that they were possibly the most advanced military force in known space. And they had done it not despite their differences, but because of them. The test was over. The humans had passed, and the galaxy would never be the same again.